Good morning. It is my favorite weather outside, which is overcast, and this is my bleak attempt at an intro where I let you guys know that today we're doing a scorpion, aka the most deadly scorpion on the planet, which is the Deathstalker, which is the most metal name I've ever heard in my entire life. And I just wanted to thank you guys for getting me to over 450 views on my last video. Thank you so much. And welcome to my 2 new subscribers. Thank you so much. And so let's jump right into it. So I actually had to plan out what I'm going to do for this one. So let me just pause the video real quick. As you can see, for each of the 2 pincers at the front, I had to make 4 segments. For each of the 8 legs, I had to make 4 segments. The middle body part has like 7-ish segments that I'm not going to make separately. I'm just going to belt, you'll see. And then for the tail, it's going to have 6 segments as well, including the piercer. So for all of the math dweebs out there who can do quick math calculations in their heads, let's calculate it together. What does it come out to? A lot of fucking moving parts. So let's just move on. So for the front 2 pincers, we're just going to make I can make an M in my sleep regular, method of doing it, except for I just made it a little irregular, whatever. And then for the rest of them, the 8 legs, we're actually going to do a little hash slinging slasher type moment. I'm getting flashbacks already. This shit was so difficult. So I'm going to make each little segment separately, right? For each of the little legs and pincers. And then I am going to freeze them in hopes that they will stay the same. And you see there, I made them nice and thin. But then I actually go back and make them just a little thicker, and I make them nice and round and all the perfect same size. And then that doesn't work. That doesn't work. This bug is a little taxing. I don't think I'll ever do a scorpion again. But anyways, into the freezer they go, so that hopefully they'll get a little hard and, easier to put onto the wire. And now I'm just making the middle part. And if you look up the Deathstalker, it kind of is translucent in its middle part. I don't know how to explain it. So I thought I'd use translucent clay, right? Thought I'd use translucent. I tried to show you that it says translucent, but it rubbed off. I used translucent clay, and I'm going to put that on top of this black part. Now, as you can see, I'm about to give myself carpal tunnel because for whatever reason, translucent clay is the hardest thing on the fucking planet. Not only is it super hard for me to just rub out with my hands, but I don't have a rolling pin, which sucks. And so I'm just using basically everything in my arsenal to try and get this shit out. But it looks so pretty like that. But still, fuck, it's not good. And then it breaks so easily. But as for right now, which will be the recurring theme for this entire video, I am going to try my best, but still take multiple tries of me trying my best to get the conclusion that I want. And I wanted to get a little texture, some like ridges for this middle part. And so I thought I'll just pinch the translucent clay and it'll stay up. And then I did not like the way that came out looking. So I rolled it out and I tried it again. Don't know why I tried to do the same thing twice. It didn't work the first time, but whatever. I eventually wisened up and used the black clay to make little, as you can see, little rolls that will hopefully help it to stay up, which in theory was a good idea. And I do move forward with it, but this part, it's not doing so hot. You see, there it goes. It breaks. There, ooh, you thought it was just a hole? It broke all the way. Because translucent clay is very adversarial. And I don't know if I'll ever use it again, but here I am making the rolls just a little thicker, just so that it will actually help make the ridge. And that works. That works. So, and it looks good, I think. Yeah. I think the middle part was the least adversarial part of this entire bug. So let's just be happy about that. So I put it on, and then at this point I've had enough of this fucking clay. It is harder to work with this clay than it is to get an admission of guilt from the government. So when it came to the bottom part of the bug, I literally just snipped it off. Did not care how it looks because it's so hard to get translucent clay to sit flat on top of each other. So I take a piece of just regular polymer clay and I'm just going to cover it with it. I don't give a fuck, you know? If the bottom part's not translucent, the bottom part's not translucent, we'll all live, you know? So now I'm just making the first segment of the segments for the tail. Take a shot every time I say segment, so sorry. I just wanted to have an ease transition from the translucent clay to not translucent clay. And now we are pushing on the leg parts, which is already starting to look fucked up. I'm gonna put it in the freezer, aka the fridge, whatever, so that it cools down, hardens just a little bit, and hopefully it's a little easier to work with. So yeah, and it worked kind of. If I may say so myself, it worked kind of, because I think next time I will just invest in some polymer, or no, not polymer, this is polymer, and some epoxy clay, epoxy sculpt, whatever the fuck, because it's a little bit harder. And I kind of got ahead of myself here because I haven't even put the legs on to the body and I've already started making the details. Do not do that. Do not do that. I'm just going to stick it in, right? It looks good, right? Or it looks as good as it can be at this point. But no, I'm actually going to take them all out because they're kind of rubbing into each other. So, first L of the video, but it's fine. So back in the freezer, because I'm actually going to bend them a little bit so that they're not like rubbing into each other. And in the meantime, we're going to work on the tail, which is a nice little break. It really was. So I take my pliers and I sharpen the pincer part so it's nice and sharp and pointy. And then we get creative with the bendy part because I actually don't have a bendy thing. And even though they're really cheap, I am saving up for a really cool pair of Crocs I saw. So I'm not going to buy one anytime soon. So now that I have bent the legs to a better way than I originally had them, so that way they're not like sticking up on each other, I'm going to put them back in and then put them back in the freezer so that it could be even more malleable. And this took a little bit of trial and error. And because of that, it kind of ruined my perfect little tube clay segments that I made originally, but it's fine. They end up looking okay. And now I'm just like rubbing them in so that they stay, because this one will not be opposable. So it's too much work. It's not going to be opposable. Don't know why I left that one out specifically. Oh, I guess it's because it just took lots of trial and error to get the legs to sit the way I want them to, but it did. Look, it looks fine there. It looks fine. Let's pat on the back. So now I am just going to tighten up these little small details before I move on to the next part. So as I previously mentioned, the tail segment parts were much easier, and my original plan of freezing the clay pieces so that they'll easily move onto the wire actually worked, because this is just one slight curve instead of lots of bendy joints. So I think that's the only reason why it worked. So I mean, obviously the part where I'm like pushing it in gets a little bit fucked up, but compared to the legs, it's like child's play. Okay, so now I'm back to just like tightening up certain parts. And now I'm back to doing the details that I did before, which was stupid of me. Or I shouldn't say stupid. Don't call yourself stupid. You're all trying our best. I was trying my best. Now that it's all on the bug, I made little hair. Woo! And little toesies, because they also, like tarantulas, have like little toes if you zoom in. So I thought that was nice. And now I am just going to make a little bit of extra part for the eyes. Don't know how I got the translucent clay to be so nice, but now we're just making the eyes. The eyes was really fun. It really was. Scorpions have really, really derpy eyes. When I actually showed this bug to my friends when I finished it, they were like, do scorpion eyes really look like that? And yes, they do. Very silly looking. And who would have guessed scorpions also have really bad eyesight? Who would have known if you have dinky, derpy little eyes like those, right? Onto the schlüssere, which is fancy entomology terms for jaw. And now from there, we are onto the front pincers. which are, I liked it. It was easy, you know, I just cut it and then I sliced off just a little part of it to make it sharp. And then I cut myself, workplace accident, comes with the territory. I'm like stronger than Marines right now. And this part was easy. This part really was. So I made a stand for it for when it goes into the oven, just in case it like loosened up or, you know, fell backwards. I didn't want to ruin the form because it didn't have anything to stand on. And here is where I am making, just easing the clay onto the wire so that it looks there's some sort of transition there. So yeah, and then I think it looks good. Okay, now we have a drum roll, please, to see if the translucent clay worked. But yay! It did, kind of. I used the whiteout to cover the white parts of the pincers, as you can see. But it did it came out looking kind of flaky. And before you think, oh, Sydney, you've gone through the hard part because you actually made the form and now you just got to paint it. The painting was harder, or no, it wasn't harder. It was just as hard. Okay, this was just a fucking hard bug to make because as you can see, I tried to keep the translucent vibes of the translucent clay by watering down the paint, but that just made it look messy. It made it look not very good. And I don't like that. I don't want it to look unprofessional or goofy. And already look at its derpy eyes. It already looks kind of goofy. So then I tried, oh, let me mix the paint with the glaze. And that worked slightly better, but all it did was kind of emphasize the watery and crackly parts of it. I do like the mustardy yellow that I ended up using for the legs. That part came out fine. And then to give the scorpion a little bit of personality detail, because it is actually a inhabitant of the Middle Eastern deserts, I decided to make it look a little dirty around its feet, you know, give it a little bit of a character backstory. That was me distracting myself from the fact that I simply cannot get the middle part to work out. And here I am just emphasizing the joints, gave me a little shadow detail to emphasize those details. And then I wanted to distract myself even more. I was in denial at this point because see, I'm like, oh, I'll give shadow detail to the thorax parts and then I'm gonna highlight it and it'll almost be like it looks good. So I keep doing that and I keep doing trial and error and I think, oh, the highlight parts do look really nice. I like that. Don't know why I want to give it a mustache there, but I did. And then I decided to maybe highlight even more and maybe the little yucky parts will just be detail. And then I watered down the highlights and then I made the highlights a different color. And then I thought, let me just water some murky color to make it look almost like it's supposed to look like that. But long story short, what I ended up doing ultimately is I just painted it. I just used an opaque paint and painted it the color that I thought it was supposed to look. And then it looked fine. And now we're back to just cleaning up because at this point I was like, this is as good as it's gonna get, I think. Or no, look at me. Now I'm doing the eyes. This was my little bit of reward, getting to do the little eyes. Doesn't mean that I was done with the middle part. But I'm still glad that I made the scorpion. Even though we had to jump through all those hoops, I'm still glad I made it. I'm happy with the final product. And even if I wasn't, who gives a fuck? You can do anything you want if you allow yourself to be a beginner. That being said, I'm just finishing it up, adding little veins, highlights, glaze, whatever. And that's it. That's our boy. That's our big dog. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for my 2 new subscribers. I'm very happy to have you. Thank you for getting me to all those views on the last video. See you for the next one. Love you so much. Bye bye.